Greetings and salutations. This is Hugh Jarsz. And for the first time, I'm having a go at this StreamYards thing. I've seen quite a few of the bigger channels out there making use of it. And so far, from what I can see, it seems fairly simple. Certainly a lot simpler than OBS. All I have to do is basically start it up. And the few functions that I want it to do, it does. Hang on. I'll turn that off. Cool. So I guess I'm talking to myself until people show up. So those who are watching this on the recording afterwards, they'll be able to hear my voice right now. Let me just check if I'm live on YouTube because it's telling me I am, but that's no guarantee. Let's see. Oh, yes, I am on. Excellent. And it looks like Discord's picked it up. So awesome. Now I've got to find my screen. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Yes, this is riveting viewing right now. I haven't planned anything. I'm just basically trying this out, and I'm hoping someone comes in the chat soon so that I can try out the chat features. Oh, we've got 4 people watching now. So please, if you're... Oh, yes, there we go. G'day, g'day to Mark Short, Armageddon's Fire, and Dave Cannabis. Big Bum, what do you mean? Bacon Earth, how are you, mate? Oh, now we've got a party happening. That's excellent. So, yeah, I've got nothing planned for this. It was just a matter of testing out the StreamYards thing. I'm hoping a few people will come in and have a bit of a chat. We'll just see how this thing works. It seems pretty simple. I guess there's a few more things I've got to figure out. And, yeah, like I said, nothing planned. And if anyone who actually knows me, they would be shocked to hear that because I pretty much plan everything to the nth degree. Well, to the appropriate degree. I don't plan to the nth degree when it doesn't need the nth degree. In fact, I hate people like that. They tend to make life really complicated when they go down to the nth degree unnecessarily. G'day, Dart. How are you? Yes, Bacon Earth. StreamYard seems to work beautifully so far. I didn't even have to do the separate, go live and that sort of thing in YouTube Studio. It connects straight away, and I just do it straight from Streamlabs. Morning. It's nearly 9 o'clock at night here, 8:47. South of the border, 9:47. That's what they used to say in the Gold Coast radio stations. Because we're close to the, Gold Coast is close to the border with New South Wales. But you want to stay on this side of the border. It's the best part on this side. So I know Bacon Earth and I think Data from the UK. Where's everyone else from? That's true, Mark, but when someone's paying for it, they don't want to spend money on stuff and resources on stuff that didn't need to be done. In fact, that's what I do for a living as a project manager. I make sure that we don't overspend. Yeah, my laptop's giving me a bit of grief at the moment. It keeps jumping. I'm worried that the motherboard is going. It stops charging after a while. But, anyway, Scotland, yes. Well, my ancestors were Scottish, or some of them anyway. Certainly my dad's ancestors. Chipmunk, how are you, mate? It's good. Always good to see you. Casino, New South Wales. Oh, you poor thing. You're on the wrong side of the border. Casino's not a bad place, actually. It's a nice little town. And Dave's near, I guess that means Lismore, not Lesmore. Lismore's a town of upper and lower, really. The lower bits gets flooded all the time, every time it rains. And the Chipmunk, you're at work? I thought everyone was in lockdown in the UK. You're just cleaning up or something. Or hairdressers, sorry, I shouldn't say hairdressers, you're a barber. A barber's allowed to work, are they? Because they were in Australia. I have to wait for people to type. How about that? Oh, you went back last week. Oh, okay. So things are easing in the UK. That's good to hear. So we've got 8 people watching already. That's pretty good for an impromptu. Now, I want to share. Let me see if I can do this. We're live, Daryl. Yes, we are. Let me see if I can find this. Where is it? That should do the trick. Yes, Mark, you've apparently commented on this. So I've got a video coming up as part of Les Irrelevables. Oops, what happened there? Yes, on, Friday morning for me and Thursday night for the UK. I've lost my stream. Where are we? Okay. Oh, no, it's not too warm in Brisbane. It's very pleasant, actually. And, well, let me share the screen. Let's see if I can get that to happen. I don't have 2 monitors, but we'll see how we go. Chrome tab. That's the one I want. Let's see. That works. Okay. Oh, I can see why. Can I minimize that? No. Can everyone see my screen? Oh, yes, I can see that. I can see my screen. So, okay. Gee. Now I've lost it. Where's it gone? So, yeah, on Thursday evening, UK time, Friday morning, my time, I've got a video coming out called Are Flirfs Idiots? And where is it? Where is it? I've lost it already. Why can't I see it? I'll maximize that maybe. No, that doesn't work. I'm getting used to this, guys, so that's the point of this stream. It's a test stream. No, it's not Streamlabs, Tanner. It's StreamYards. Not the same thing. Oh, there it is. Okay, now I recognize it. All right, so if I scroll down, look who's responded. Now, the video isn't even out, and he comes up with a comment like this. Mr. Daniel Pratt. He saw his photo on the thumbnail and thought, oh, I'll have a complaint about this. And he says, another nobody ball riding my name. Well, his name's not mentioned on the thumbnail, so how did he know? And absolutely zero factual science. Again, he hasn't seen the video. How does he know whether or not it's zero factual science? How expected. Say my name's Sally. You're definitely not the first and far from the best. Well, say my name's Sally. Is that a bit like Beetlejuice? Daniel Pratt say that 3 times and he'll appear? Well, he certainly appeared. He's such a numpty. I noticed that Irish Demon suggested that the FBI had been talking about him recently. And yeah, sorry, I shouldn't. Got too many things happening at once. Irish Demon mentioned that the FBI had visited Daniel Pratt. And so I should have replied saying something like, be nice to those FBI guys. Yes, Daniel Pratt, he's a proper lunatic. It sort of makes me very sad to think that he's got children. And so I've just released a cut of PhD Tony's awesome performance on FDFE's live stream today. I think Tony moved into legend status with that. That was pretty awesome. And the guy he was aiming it at totally deserved it. He was just, I couldn't believe that guy was just a nut. He sounded like an idiot more, as well as being one. He didn't even know what a sextant was. I can share it full screen. I thought I was sharing it full screen. Is that full screen now? Tanner, you're probably right. Daniel Pratt drinks the water direct from the water heater. So, Bacon Earth, have I done the right thing? Is that what you meant? Daryl M seems to think so. So, okay, good. Yeah, so you can see the comment from Daniel Pratt there, and they, who isn't in here, and Mark Short, who is, made some follow-up comments. That's good to see. Right, I'll remember that. Full screen. Oh, I see. The rest are for the people in the call at the time. I was hoping Eileen Dover will be joining me, but she's not around at the moment, it seems. Yeah, Pig Slapper. What a name. His name was Big Pig Slapper Oink, I think it was. And he sounded like an utter redneck, like a guy who failed the second grade and didn't progress in his education, and yet he deems to tell people like PhD Tony, who've spent 10 years of his adult life learning things, that Tony doesn't know what he's talking about. Where do these... That is just Dunning-Kruger personified. It's just amazing. Maybe I should play that. Let me do that. Let me... how do I... All right, I'm sharing this chat. Let's go here. Oops, I've lost a subscriber. It was 11:24 yesterday. Here we go. How was that? I can probably stop sharing this now. Yes, Mr. Sensible had real trouble too. Hey, Pie Parrot, how are you? Early morning for you? And it's winter in Scotland. What's the temperature there at the moment? In Celsius, of course, because this is the world. Tanner, I wonder if he greases his pig before he slaps it. Well, I suspect he greases it for other reasons too. Yes, he got under Mr. Sensible's skin too, didn't he? Who else we got? So did you guys see that video, by the way? I'm not sure I played it. I was sharing the tab when I played it, so I presumed it came through. But I couldn't see, because I've only got one screen on my laptop. I can only see one tab at a time. Did people see the video and hear it? I'd appreciate some feedback. So it didn't share. Okay. How do I do that then? All right, Bacon Earth, I suspect I need your tutorage here. How do I... So I didn't share the tab. Where's it gone? All right. So I've set up the tab ready to go. So if I share screen... Share a tab. Okay, can you see that now? Looks like you can. Share the Chrome tag with audio. I didn't get an option to do that. Oh, hey, Tony, the man of the hour. So let's see if I can how do I get... I'm just going to play it, and hopefully that should come through. So did you hear that? No sound. All right, so let's stop it again and let's try that again. Share screen. Chrome tab. That. Oh, share audio. Okay, let's try again.
You, sir, are a fucking idiot! You are a fucking idiot! You're a moron!
Did you hear it that time? I suspect Pip is saying she did. That's a bingo. I guess that means they did hear it. Awesome. I've learned some more things. That's excellent for a test stream. You're supposed to learn things on a test stream. All right, what else can we get into? So I've learned how to share a screen. Bacon Earth, can you make any suggestions? Why was that not even... I would have thought share with audio would have been default. Why was that an option? That's sort of strange. Can't imagine why you wouldn't want to. Yeah, I definitely need a second screen. Tony, it was you indulging in a full and frank exchange of opinions, and it was also you becoming an absolute legend, if you weren't already. Robust critique. Yes, that's one way of saying it. Banners. In case of... So what are you telling me, Bacon Earth? Banners in case of music copyright? I don't understand. So I believe I can show comments on the stream like that, which is pretty cool. Hey, Keela's here. And we'll show her comment. Hey, Keela, how are you? I agree, Mark. I keep laughing every time I see it too. It's awesome. It sums up when you're watching these sort of debates with these absolute idiots. That what Tony did was exactly the same way everyone feels. They just want to shout, "You're a fucking idiot!" at everyone. Well, at the flirt, because they're just not listening. Oh, I see. Okay, thanks, Bacon Earth. I understand now. Yes. You want to make sure that you're not accidentally... Hang on, I'll just share that so that people can spot it. If they didn't read it in the chat, of course they would have, because it's the latest one. But hey, I'm trying out the functions. Well, let's try the invite. Oh, I see. I can do that. Let's see if we can get the man of the hour in here himself. Where is he in Discord? Look at me. I'm running a stream all by myself. It's never happened to me before. Banners. What's a banner? Oh, I see. This display calls to action. All right, create a banner. Okay. There's my banner. Oh, yes, Daryl M. No, I didn't stay up for 10 hours. I managed to even be aware of it just a few minutes before it was scheduled to go up. And yes, 1 second to go. Took about the last minute. So I wonder if you could you hook the banner into some sort of database or something, like, you know, like most creators put their Patreon roll through there? Or do you have to type it out into the banner to make that happen? That'd be a bit frustrating. Brand. Oh, okay. Can I select a color? That looks like the Hugh Jarsz pink. Logo. Oh, I've got to upgrade for that one. Overlay. Oh, I've got to upload one. Don't know how that works. It looks like I can load in a video clip. Again, upgrade. All right. So I guess to use all the cool features of StreamYards, it looks like I have to pay for it. That's not at the end of the world. I mean, it's a business expense, you might say. Not that I'm monetized yet, but anyway. All right, so let me send Bacon Earth a invite. And we'll have a bit of a chat and go through this. Yeah, sorry it's not exactly riveting television, guys, but hey, I'm figuring it out, and that means I should be able to run live streams all by myself, with guests, of course, but I'll be able to do all the work. And hopefully that means I can have a bit more of a better interaction with my audience. Now, if someone calls me, well, that's another thing I haven't done before. So PhD Tony or Bacon Earth, if you give me a call, well, respond to the invite I've sent you, then I'll have to figure out how to bring you in. So PhD Tony says he's responded to it, but I can't see anything where I can acknowledge. Oh, hang on. I can see him now, yes. Are you there, Tony?
I am. How are you?
Awesome. Another thing I've just figured out. Hey, I'm learning new things today. I'm not like a flurf at all, am I?
No, not at all. Oh, yes. Just got frustrated by that guy earlier today. But, so
Bacon Earth. Bacon Earth is here too. Hello, Bacon Earth.
Good morning, folks.
Yes, I'm figuring out things fast. It's this is pretty cool. It's once you figured out where things are, it's fairly simple.
I think it's brilliant. From the point of view of not needing OBS and the problems it causes, no voice meters or anything else, it's brilliant.
Yeah. Can you change the volume on certain people?
You can indeed. If you click on the three little buttons, you should see edit and make settings.
Right, okay.
And then you can pull people backwards and forwards depending on how their audio levels are compared to everybody else.
Oh, okay. So if I turn you down a lot, okay, so say something now.
Bacon Earth is the only reality that matters.
Whether you're much quieter, and I'll put you back to where you were. In fact, you're a little bit loud, so I'll drop you down a little bit. Okay, good.
And there are other options like where you still use OBS for as a virtual camera, so you can download your Patreon and memberships lists into it, and it'll play over the top of your avatar as well. But it just doesn't use OBS to pump stuff out to YouTube, which is useful as well because you don't get the OBS glitches.
Oh, okay. So OBS can connect to Patreon and things like that, but this can't. But then you connect to OBS and pull it out of there.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can pull your Patreon list down in generally a CVS file from your Patreon, and upload that into your OBS, and then you can have that playing on a virtual camera loop.
Okay, so I don't have Patreon, so it's a moot point. But yeah, I was interesting to see how it worked. Hello, Carl Edwards. Gary Wybenger's found us. How about that? Do we have... Oh, I guess it's YouTube, isn't it, as well? So we have moderators. But I can't see them in this format.
You should be still able to see them in the format. Or I was able to.
I'm not seeing any... Well, I know there's people here that are moderators, but I'm not seeing any spanners or anything.
Huh.
I'll have to go back to YouTube to see that.
Yeah.
But I haven't got two screens is the thing. I've only got my laptop. Huh. My own stream isn't coming up in my suggested list. How about that? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. So, go, Tony.
Well, it probably knows that you know better than to go to that sort of stream. Any stream that you host, you're obviously not interested in. You know it's...
Well,
you know
obviously,
it's,
yeah.
Yeah.
I have better taste than that. Did someone... Oh, it's FDFE. Yes. I sent FDFE your video, Tony, and he just said thank you for that. So
No, okay.
I think that the impression I'm getting is that he actually is quite thankful. Because he does ask people to cut things out of his streams and things. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh.
So,
yeah.
that was awesome.
Well, I enjoyed it. I can't really testify to everybody else, but it was fun for me. And I'm a child, so I enjoy that sort of thing.
Are you 13 like MC Toon, though?
I am not 13 like MC Toon. There is absolutely no metric by which I am anywhere near as cool as MC Toon.
But he's like a massive nerd. Since when are massive nerds cool?
Well, he may be a massive... He doesn't need to be objectively cool. He just needs to be cooler than me.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
As Jessica G's not here, I'll say what she would have said. Well, Tony, that's not hard to be cooler than you.
Yes, she would certainly say something along those lines. You're doing a really good job. Yeah. It's kind of the default setting that everybody has. Everybody's cooler than I am. But
I don't know. You became a legend today. I'm not a legend. You are. That's pretty cool.
Well, everybody's very kind. I was just in the right place to call an idiot an idiot. Doesn't really.
And he certainly was an idiot, wasn't he?
He certainly was.
He didn't even know what a sextant was.
No, he didn't know what a sextant was, and I mean, nor did he care. Like the whole thing was, like we can do stuff in the real world that you can't. Well, who cares? That isn't proof. Well, then what is? Don't know.
Well, whatever suits his narrative is the answer, I guess.
Yes, that's true.
Hang on, I'm just checking that I've got power. Because my laptop's mucking up. All right, cool. So while you're here, Tony, I thought I'd ask you a question that Rachie asked me.
Yeah.
And just to see what your answer is. It's pretty much the last bit I have on this video I'm doing for her that I need to put together. It's not really important to the overall question of the shape of the Earth, but it's an interesting question. So when we say space-time is bending, what is actually bending? We're not talking about, so when you're out in space, there's a few hydrogen molecules floating around, but there's nothing in between. And presumably, whatever that nothing is, that's what's bending when we're talking about gravitational lensing and things like that.
Yeah,
so we can observe that space-time bends, but what is it actually that's bending?
So what's bending is the paths that what are called the geodesics, the paths of least resistance that zero mass particles move along. So in other words, the trajectory of light by definition is what's bending. It's bending from us. It's bending from our perspective. It's sort of like being on the surface of the Earth. Like when you draw a great circle from one point to another, that's actually the most direct way to travel. And if you walk in a straight line, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to change your direction at all. You will walk in a curve because what you're walking on is curved. And so it's the same with light. It's not like the light, from the perspective of somebody standing outside the Earth watching you, you are bending, you are changing in attitude. But from your perspective, nothing is happening. You're just walking straight. So in order to see the curvature, in order to see the bend, we would actually have to be sort of in a higher dimensional space and looking at it. It's kind of a weird concept when you think about it that way. And mass, in some respects, defines a dimension in addition to sort of, in addition to space-time, that sort of flexes the space-time. So space-time distorts to accommodate the mass that's in it. I'm not sure that I'm doing a fantastic job of explaining this, but
you're giving me new insights, so I like that.
Okay, so the objects inside the universe don't necessarily see the curvature as they're moving along. For them, they've just gone in a straight line. So light thinks of itself, light doesn't think, obviously, but the light sort of considers itself to be just moving in the same direction all the time. It just keeps on going in that direction. It keeps on radiating in that direction. But from our perspective, looking outside, it actually curves. It actually seems to be bending. So we can see stuff that is behind an object through what's called gravitational lensing. You can see multiple copies, or you can see a ring surrounding a very dense object due to the light produced behind that object that has sort of been lensed around that object and gotten to us. But that light, it didn't see a bend because it's traveling in a straight line as far as it's concerned. It's traveling in the most direct way. So,
in the same way that if you walked the Great Circle route, you wouldn't see any curving. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
So we see an object and we see the light as having gone around the object, but that's effectively a straight line. What the light did is the shortest path to us. So we may think of it as curved, but we're looking at it wrong when we think that. So it's one of the things about, you often hear physicists say gravity isn't really a force. and indeed the flat earthers like to sort of berate, like to sort of beat us over the head with, the fact that Brian Cox, for instance, will say that gravity isn't really a force. Okay, well, if you accept that gravity isn't really a force, then we can throw away conservation of momentum. We can throw away all of Newton's laws of motion, and we can just accept that that they only hold in an observational framework, in a frame of reference where gravity is a force. And we happen to be we happen to exist, and our existence is dependent on being in the framework where actually gravity looks a lot like a force. If we were in a different framework, we might not see gravity as a force, but we're not in that framework. We're in the one we're actually in. So again, I'm not sure that I'm necessarily doing the best job explaining this. I haven't had my dinner yet, so...
Well, yeah, it's late for you. It's like 10:20 at night.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to hold you too long then. You've got to eat.
The matter is in hand. So
all right, cool. I think that was a fairly good explanation. I was thinking in terms of how I'd explain it to Rachie. I'm not sure I could use that to explain it to Rachie. I'd have to dumb it down a bit. Well, sorry, I don't mean dumb it down, simplify it. Because one of my skills is take complex concepts and make them simple and easy to understand. And that's what I mean when I say dumb down, I guess. But yeah, I'll have to have a think about that. And what I'm thinking also is this is very much the other side of Dunning-Kruger. Dunning-Kruger, you think about Mount Stupid, where you've got a lot of confidence in your knowledge, even though you don't have any. And that's where most flurfs seem to be. And that guy this morning, the pig slapper, he was definitely there. But the other side of it is that people who are educated and know a lot, they seem to think of the world as if everyone else knows what we're talking about. Like you talked about sextants, well, not you personally, but FDFE and the others talked about sextants as if everyone knew what a sextant was, and this guy didn't know what it was. And that's the other side of Dunning-Kruger. And intelligent people just think that way because that's all they've ever known. And idiots think that way because that's all they've ever known,
So Gary Wybenga says that space-time curvature doesn't exist, and he is demonstrably wrong. The Eddington eclipse experiment showed light curving around the sun. So clearly light paths do curve. It's demonstrable. Similarly, general relativity is validated by looking at redshift in photons as they move upward from the surface of the Earth in the Pound-Ribker experiment. So the whole notion that this has not been validated or observationally checked is a nonsense. But thank you for playing, Gary. You're always great entertainment.
Yes, and that's mods. Please don't time out or hide Gary Wybenga. I'd rather let him, cut and paste all his nonsense, and we can just have a good laugh at it. He gets the Vicky treatment on FTFE for other reasons because he's too chicken to go and debate him. But let's let him read the stuff here. Let's let us read his stuff here.
Well, he says, not without a King's rate adjustment. What does that
even mean?
Gary is talking nonsense there.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
Hey, Boomer, how are you, mate? Gee, we've got 23 people watching. How about that?
Nice.
It's for a crappy stream where I don't really know what I'm doing, although I'm learning fast thanks to Bacon Earth and a few other people, I guess. So yeah, this is really easy. I remember a few months ago, Colin tried to explain OBS to me, and he said I had to get all these little software packages like Potato and Banana and things like that, and figure out how to connect them all through. And then each person got their own pathway, and you could adjust each of them, and it was just incredibly complex to me, and I just wasn't in the mood for doing a live stream at that point, so I didn't really get back to it. And now I'm I've discovered StreamYards, and it's just so easy so far. So I'm really pleased. This is gonna work out well. Now, my next live stream, I'm actually going to have to plan so that I've got some idea what to talk about.
Yeah, well, I noticed that a lot of people have started using it, or at least in my experience over the past week or so, it's made a couple of appearances. So
yeah, I noticed the Critical Drinker does it. I've always watched his live streams, and yeah, he was using it, and I was thinking, gee, he's got 500,000 subs. If it's good enough for him, it must be good enough for a lot of people.
Cricky Blinder started using it as well now too. On
Has he? Okay.
Yeah, on his streams, and agree to disagree as well.
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot less to go wrong, it seems. Put it that way.
Well, the great thing is that because the audio is processed by StreamYard itself, it just means that you're running effectively. You run one window, so it's brilliant.
Yeah. And one piece of software, really. And it's not even downloaded. I guess you're trusting a lot of people with your data and that kind of thing, but hey, that's the world we live in, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, again, it's like how many, as soon as you link, if you decide to set up a Patreon, as soon as you link Patreon, you have to set that up to your Discord server, to your Discord account, to everything else as well. So it's all much of a muchness in what you're actually sharing with them.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, there's all sorts of security and things. The Christmas Tree Nebula. It's only in the last couple of days I realised that Christmas is coming up, because Doctor Who did my intro, sent me a little tag to put on my videos with a Christmas wish on it. So yeah, I've got to start thinking about getting presents and things. If only I can get my teenage children to tell me what they want, but teenagers, as you know, just communicate in grunts.
Yeah. They're yeah, and they don't respond positively to being told that there's a their brain is about 10 years away from being mature. I learnt that by direct experimentation.
Yeah, even up to about 21 or 22, their brain doesn't process in the same way as a properly adult person does.
Yeah,
they don't plan ahead as well, which is sort of scary. Seeing you're doing your undergraduate degrees, people who do those are doing them at that time. So I graduated when I was 21, so. It's yeah. You're thinking, if you're not planning ahead, how are you studying well?
That's right.
When I went back to my masters, it was a completely different world.
It is weird, because I went back to do a sort of a graduate diploma in history. And one of the strangest things was that the lecturer would ask these kids questions, on the second and third year undergraduates questions, and they would just sit there and just, completely silent. They wouldn't respond at all. It was just a very different mindset from what I was used to. I found it weird.
Yeah, I guess they were just being sponges, sucking it all in because they didn't know what to do with it yet. And that was the biggest difference when I did my master's compared to my undergraduate degrees, that the life experience, 10 years life experience, had taught me a whole lot about how to analyse what data was relevant and what to take note of, and what to just put in the I'll get to it if I need to basket, and I became much more efficient in my study as a result.
Yeah, it's an important skill to be able to sort of accurately prioritize and construct an intellectual model of not only what you've been taught, but how you would apply it in critical thinking. I'm not sure that enough undergraduates are sort of have it impressed on them that the key skill that we're trying to develop, that we're trying to encourage them to develop, is the ability to think critically about an argument that's presented to them, about a problem that they're facing. And it was one of the notable failures of Pig Slapper was he had no ability to critically assess data or arguments. He's going, well, you use maths, but when we use maths, it doesn't. You don't accept it. Yeah, because your maths is stupid.
That's a convincing argument.
Prove that it isn't stupid by doing something real with it. We can do real stuff with our mathematics. Can you do something real with yours? He didn't want to hear it.
And this is what I don't get about people like Level Earth Observer. They're saying, "Oh, we've got demonstrable reality on the side of flat Earth." Well, how come you can't demonstrate anything? If demonstrable reality was on the side of flat Earth, give us a map that works, and they don't. We can give you a map that works. We can demonstrate that reality matches everything that we say about our model. And when I say we, I mean the human race, as opposed to idiots who just seem to be on the edge of a human race. He just uses it, but he's just a incredulous fool. He just likes complaining, really.
Yeah, he just says dear oh dear and pantomime a lot. I'm pretty sure I could write a script that could do what Level Earth Observer does fairly convincingly.
We did something similar when I was at uni the first time through with artificial intelligence sort of thing. Writing, it was meant to be like a online counselor and sort of tell me about your problem. What do you think about this problem? And there was like a set of 50 responses to any particular question, and it picked up on keywords to determine which one to ask. So, and then we'd have fun trying to trip it up. So, but we do one of those for Level Earth Observer.
Aren't most of the flat earthers now just regurgitating the same stuff they were 5 years ago? Or just going into the semantics game now?
Well, they always recycle arguments. I mean, Oakley dropped diffraction for a little while after getting humiliated by cats, but now he's back to it. They'll just move on. They rely on the lack of attention span of their followers, and they just go through the same nonsense. And when it gets ripped apart, they move back on to the next nonsense that they had had ripped apart in the sequence, and they're just in a loop. They're like hamsters.
Pretty much, but right. So, given that there are some that genuinely believe it, and there's so many pros out there just doing it for the attention, how do you deal with the difference?
You don't. It doesn't matter. So I'm pretty sure that Pig Slapper is genuine in his belief, but he is uneducatable. You simply cannot educate him. The only thing you can do is try and educate the audience. Try and present arguments that the audience can use to side through whatever cloud of bullshit is being thrown at them. The flurf is a lost cause. They're not going to change their mind regardless of the argument that you present. And in that sense, it doesn't matter if they're a po or genuine. They're not changing their position because it's the result of psychological pressure, whatever psychological pressures apply to them that force them to take refuge in this.
Yeah, it's. I always love it when they sort of say, "Oh, we are told that this is the case, and you haven't done the experiment yourself, so how do you know it's true?" and things like that. But pretty much everything they say, they've been told. They've never tested it. Almost every one of them have tested it, and the few that have almost everyone haven't tested it, and the few that have done some tests have done them incorrectly, like the cold moonlight test, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having an argument with Flat Earth Aussie Roscoe. I was saying, well, you've got to take the temperature of the pan of water on a night where there is no moon to confirm whether or not the moon was the cause. And he says, what are you, crazy? How can I test that the moonlight's cold if the moon's not there? And he just couldn't get his brain around it.
No. You're not testing whether or not the moonlight is cold. You're testing whether or not the moonlight is responsible for the phenomenon you're observing.
Yeah.
So
you got to do the control, which is moon not there. Is it still cold? Yes. Oh, okay. Well, then it's not the moon. You've got to eliminate that situation. Anyway, they don't think that way. They haven't.
No, they don't.
As you said, they haven't been trained to think critically. So.
Well, it's so Mr. Sensible's Mage was a well thought out experiment. It was well thought out exercise in sort of scientific investigation, but it doesn't get any respect from FLIRS because they wouldn't recognise scientific investigation if it slapped them between the eyes, they don't understand the narrow view camera with the minimal barrel distortion. They don't understand what the control lines are there for. And in many cases, it just seems their inability to understand even the basics of reality of scientific investigation just seems willful ignorance.
Well, it is. That's exactly what it is. Willful ignorance. They don't want to have their mind changed, so they refuse to. And that comes back to their psychology. People always do the things that they think will give them the best advantage. And they believe that being an idiot in their little circle of idiots means that they'll be better off. But then again, you see things like Ranty versus Riley, and it's not so bad. It's not so good, is it?
No. I think that for a lot of flat earthers, the flat Earth narrative that there's some global conspiracy that is concealing the truth, and that only geniuses can see through the illusion to the reality underneath. And if you do this, you're an independent thinker, you're creative, you're brighter than everybody else. It supplies them with a number of things to take refuge in. The fact that they've not been so successful in life or not so successful academically, well, that's down to this conspiracy. They get to turn that into a virtue by saying that they haven't been conditioned or brainwashed.
Yeah. Well, they have. They're just not by the education system.
And they get to sort of lord it over everybody else that they've got this special knowledge. They're a special individual, and everybody else is some form of sheep or something like that. You can see that there are multiple levels on which sort of somebody who is desperate for validation might take refuge in this conspiracy theory, but then it becomes an important part of their self-image. They can't give it up, because if they give it up, it would mean admitting that they were wrong, admitting that they aren't a genius, that they aren't an independent thinker, that they aren't one of the brightest people on the face of the planet. It would mean admitting to all of that. And that's obviously the opposite of what they want.
Absolutely true. Yeah, but yet you get exceptions like Seek Truth, Speak Truth, for example. He was one of these evangelical, you might say, flat earthers. He was his relationships have suffered from it. His family had suffered from it. His family, his extended family, and his job had suffered from it because he wanted to tell everyone the truth about flat Earth, and people thought, "Don't be such a fucking idiot, go away." And he suffered as a result, and now he's realised that he was wrong, and he can't tell you all the answers in the same way that you and I might be able to, as to why he was wrong. But he's figured it out. He's figured it out enough to turn around, and he's got enough strength of character to be happy to admit he's wrong. And that's another trait of flat earthers. They never admit they're wrong. Even the pose. Gary Whitebank is a very good example too, So he just comes up with, instead of accepting the truth of the demonstrable reality that's put before him, he just makes up some rubbish. And because it's so rubbish, it's hardly worth even debunking most of the time.
Mm. Gary Whitebank.
Did you get your dinner, Tony?
I did get my dinner, yes. Sorry.
Oh, good. All right, I'm not holding you up then.
Gary Whitebank brings up...
Hey, Clive.
Hello, Clive. How are you? Gary Whitebank brings up the Coriolis adjustments for planes. And the reality is that pilots are constantly adjusting for crosswinds. And so imagine a plane in the northern hemisphere that is flying south, for instance. So it is flying into the east-west motion of the air is larger. Well, the west to east motion of the wind is larger as it moves southward. That's going to express itself as a crosswind. As long as the pilot is adjusting for crosswinds that he experiences that blow him off course, he's going to automatically correct the Coriolis. It doesn't require any explicit planning or forethought. It just falls out as a function of adjusting for crosswinds. The issue with an artillery shell is that the artillery shell is moving very, very quickly and does not have the opportunity to be acted upon by the air packet that it's moving into to be brought into agreement with the tangential speed at its new latitude. So,
well, plus an artillery shell doesn't have engines.
Yes, that's true. No, Gary Whitebank, I suggest that you attend remedial English comprehension classes. I did not say that crosswinds are Coriolis. I said that Coriolis expresses itself as a crosswind. This is like me saying German shepherds are dogs. Not all dogs are German shepherds. Not all crosswinds are due to Coriolis. And it is that sort of idiotic and infantile and intellectually dishonest nonsense that gets you, that earns you scorn and ridicule.
Intellectual dishonesty is the exact word or phrase for it.
Can you differentiate between regular crosswinds and Coriolis crosswinds? No, I just made that point.
Yeah, you might have been talking.
Again. No, that question emerged in the last 10 seconds, and I gave my explanation some time ago. No, you cannot differentiate between regular crosswinds and Coriolis crosswinds. It's yes, all dogs are dogs. Well done, Gary, you got the point of my analogy. I suppose, maybe.
Here's something for you, Gary.
Do you think Gary realizes that the effect of Coriolis on a plane is the equivalent to 3 miles an hour of a crosswind?
It's actually less than that. Wolfie did a video on this. He flew from Bali to Perth, and he calculated which is basically north-south, and he calculated the effect of the Coriolis effect on the plane doing that, and it worked out to about 1 kilometre per hour.
As low as that? Shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I knew it was
wouldn't even
negligible.
notice. I mean, it's a journey of a couple of thousand kilometres. You wouldn't even notice a kilometre an hour effect.
And the only reason it is that large is because of the speed with which planes fly. A person walking north or south is moving from a point with a given tangential velocity to a point with a different tangential velocity. But the rate of change of the tangential velocity compared to everything else is really, really tiny, because they're making that it's just really, really slow. Like I step a meter, but the difference in tangential velocity a meter north or south is positively microscopic, so I don't notice it. It's only when I'm moving really, really quickly that I do notice it. It's not that Coriolis isn't there for people who are walking, for trains or for cars. It's just they're moving slow enough that it actually disappears in amongst all of the other forces that are around. It just becomes too tiny to be bothered to be worth correcting for. I mean, when you step outside, you are subject to radiation pressure due to the sun or a street lamp or or the moon, actually, radiation that reflects off the moon. You don't have to correct for radiation pressure except in very specific circumstances. If, for instance, you're a satellite high up in the atmosphere and you're moving from the shadow of the Earth into sunlight, radiation pressure plays a role, and in fact, the rate at which you expel infrared radiation has an effect as well.
Especially if that satellite has a very large surface area.
Yeah, that's right.
So don't have to worry about it so much.
No, you can't separate Coriolis crosswinds from any other form of crosswind when you're flying a plane. But you can distinguish between crosswinds and Coriolis when you're firing an artillery shell. Because in that particular circumstance, the artillery shell is too aerodynamic and moving too quickly for Coriolis to simply be a crosswind, to be experienced as a crosswind. The rate at which you're making that transit, if Clive will tell you that it's the curl of omega plus v, is the formula for is it omega plus v, omega cross v? Not sure. Whatever it is, the larger the velocity, the larger the Coriolis force. It's a simple, it follows from the mathematical form. Yeah, Gary, I'm sure you're quite bored, but I'm sure that there's somebody in the audience who is actually bothering to learn something.
Well, the thing about Gary is that he's got this massive part in his head from all these things going over it. Part in his hair, I should say, not his head.
Yeah.
Although it could metaphorically be an axe to the forehead, but...
No, Gary, we don't treat Coriolis as though it doesn't exist, because people who are people who are trying to hit a target with a very fast-moving projectile need to account for Coriolis. Snipers taking very long-distance shots, for instance, or people firing artillery. Yeah, well, it doesn't. Even if it's not north-south, even if it's 45 degrees northeast.
Yeah. Well, if it was east-west, it wouldn't be any effect, but yeah.
Well, east-west, there's a thing called the Ottwash effect, due to the change in, and actually the Ottwash effect also acts north-south and east-west. Clive will say that these are all aspects of the Coriolis effect. But what's happening with the Ottwash effect is you're changing the centrifugal force acting on the object. So if you fire a bullet to the east, it's moving east with a higher velocity, and so there's more centrifugal force, so it'll end up higher. If you fire it to the west, it's moving slower because the west to east velocity, and it will. There's less centrifugal force acting on it, so it will hit lower.
Yeah, as soon as I said that, I thought that, and I thought, damn it, and then you explained it. So great. So anyone who's watching this now or on replay, you'll get to learn about that from PhD Tony. How about that? Gary Wybenga, I'll jog on then. Gee, I need new glasses, I think. I thought he said them, and I thought, who are them? Shame, shame, shame. 21 watching, only 16 likes. Well, yeah. Who is huge, though? I'm Hugh. And yes, Hugh needs love. I don't get much love. I'm so, whoever I'm dating is usually, 2 or 3 meters away from me because of my gut. But anyway.
So Gary says, blah, 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 all bullshit, ho-hum. Yeah. And this is why you're blocked on my channel, Gary, because you're a dick.
He's an expert in bullshit, that's for sure, as he's proven tonight. Anyway. So what did you have for dinner then, Tony?
I had a tandoori chicken burger.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You did a good job to give all those explanations while you're eating that. Well done. Are you still there, Bacon Earth? Or?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just actually trying to keep up with what Tony's saying. You see, I'm very clever. I'm smart enough to know I'm an idiot.
Yeah. This is the other side of Dunning-Kruger that you were referring to. Is the ability to recognize that actually you don't have to the ability to recognize that you are not the ultimate repository of all human knowledge is actually something that flat earthers are incapable of. Yes. Gary Wybenga says, shoot the terrorist, wait, Captain, I have to do a math equation for Coriolis first. Well, yes, Gary, if the terrorist is over a kilometre away, you're going to need to calculate the Coriolis. But it's kind of pointless unless you know exactly how the winds are going. We can predict the Coriolis force with some precision, given all of the parameters in question, but wind along the trajectory, wind and the properties of air along the trajectory are all important. And there's also a thing called atmospheric skip that can happen if you get turbulent flow around the bullet.
That's Gary's committing the intellectual sin that most flirt seem to do, which is ignoring the concept of the summation of forces. Coriolis is just one relatively small force that's on an object. Wind can be a lot more than 1 kilometre an hour, and so obviously it's going to be a much bigger force on that object. Its propulsion is going to be a bigger force, so that's how you can correct for it easily. Or if it's a ballistic object, that's why you need to know about Coriolis, because it can't adjust on its flight. If it's a cruise missile, well, that's got engines, so it's not that can adjust. With the gravity as well, the helium balloon, they're saying, well, that's proof that gravity doesn't exist. No, it's a demonstration of gravity. It's a demonstration of buoyancy, where buoyancy, the buoyant effect is greater than the gravitational effect. So therefore, the vector will be away from the center of gravity, because the buoyant effect is away from the center of gravity. And how far it goes depends on how much greater that buoyant effect is than gravity.
And the buoyant effect comes from hydrostatic ordering of the medium, which in itself is a gravitational effect. It's because pressure inside the medium is applied by the weight of the medium that is overhead. Atmospheric pressure is due to the weight of the atmosphere that overlies you. As you go up, there's less atmosphere above you, there's less pressure. Similarly, in the ocean, the deeper you go, the more ocean there is above you, the more pressure there is. And we can demonstrate pressure gradients inside containers inside the atmosphere, and relative density doesn't cover it. Doesn't explain why this is a thing, because the density, say you fill a large tank with water. The water is all of uniform density. So why is there more pressure at the bottom than there is at the top? It doesn't make any sense.
Especially if it's a little bit denser at the bottom because of the pressure, why isn't that moving up to equalize? But I think I found the perfect demonstration of why its relative density doesn't give the downward vector. I cooked up some bacon the other day and had a pan full of fat as a result. So the fat is less dense than the cast iron or the pan, so therefore the fat sits on top. But I lifted up the pan by the handle so that it was at a 45-degree angle, and the fat ran down to the bottom. The relative density did not change. What made it go down?
Yeah.
It obviously wasn't relative density, and that's what we call gravity.
Yes.
And that's a practical demonstration in demonstrable reality, Elio.
Yeah. So Gary Wybenga, yes, we can differentiate between Coriolis and crosswinds. We, when firing artillery shells at distant targets, we hit much more often when we correct for Coriolis. If Coriolis weren't a thing, then we'd be less likely to hit, not more likely to hit, because we're correcting for something that isn't there. So the fact that artillery fire becomes more accurate when you include Coriolis effects is a direct result of Coriolis existing. And I don't even know why I'm bothering to talk to this dude.
Yeah, we've had enough of him. In fact, I'm just going to, let me find it quickly, because we should, instead of him asking us questions, which we've answered, we should be asking him questions. And I don't know why I can't see it straight away. Oh, it's on the next page. That's why. My biggest thing for Flurs, and none of them have ever answered it. In fact, they usually just deny it exists. Why does the South Celestial Pole exist? And I'm about to present a video that I took from my backyard, so I did it myself. It doesn't come from NASA. And there we go. That's of the South Celestial Pole. And anyone in the southern hemisphere, and up to about 25 degrees, not up to anyone in the southern hemisphere with a time-lapse, the Star Trail capable camera can go into their backyard at night, if the night's clear, of course, and do the same thing, film the same thing. So there's 800 million people in the southern hemisphere. We can all do that. Tell us why it's there, because if it's a flat Earth, why would you need two points of rotation for the stars?
Gary was too busy typing nonsense, apparently.
Well, that's all he ever does. So, did you see my 1 minute debunk I submitted to Mr. Sensible? Because I asked Joey Rocha that question about the South Celestial Pole, and he just simply said, "Oh, it doesn't exist. It's a hoax."
Yeah. That's an interesting question, Clive Wells. Who hit the dislike?
Gee, I wonder who that was.
It's inexplicable. It's a mystery.
It's all interaction for the algorithm, so
could have been anybody. So yeah, it's a The reality is that even if we, one of my favorite questions, and it's not actually related to the shape of the Earth, is if you fire a shell at an angle of 30 degrees to the horizontal and 1,000 meters per second, what is the upward component of its velocity? And I've yet to meet a flirt who even has any idea how to answer that question. And it's that is the simplest possible physics question. It's the simplest possible. Gary Wybenga, as soon as you step south of the equator, the stars start rotating.
You can see the South Celestial Pole, assuming there's no landscape in the way.
That's right. And in fact, there's a rather spectacular time lapse, panoramic time lapse of taken from an observatory of both celestial poles. The show's really good. They just have no idea of how to do anything in the real world.
But they think they do. That's the Dunning-Kruger part. So
yeah. Mark Short gets.
I was going to say they don't know enough to know that they don't know enough.
Yep. Gary Wybenga, I'm at a loss to understand how you think you're dictating what the topic is.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Mark Short, of course, brings up the reality that the sine of 30 degrees is a half. It's the simplest possible case that I've given there. Like the vertical component is 500 meters per second, and do you think that none of them are going to get that? I bet the next time I ask Gary, he's not going to remember. It's just they've got no idea what the hell they're talking about. Why do all flirts drink urine?
Well, not all of them, just most of them.
I had been unaware of Nathan Oakley's advocacy for urine drinking.
So was I until a few seconds ago.
Yeah, no, he has been on a hangout with Patricia Steer and them and advocating for urine therapy.
Right. I saw footage of him, quite comfortably talking about, people will tell you it's a waste product, but of course it isn't a waste product. Yes, it's a waste product. We know exactly what it is, and it may not kill you to drink it. Provided you get enough water. But by God, you'd want to be pretty desperate, surely.
Yeah, it's kind of like the last resort in a survival situation where you know for sure you can't get water for a couple of days. And
Keeler, oh, that reminds me, I need to talk to Keeler on Discord. But anyway.
Of course, the best excuse for drinking urine is that it's the cheapest piss you can get.
Yes, that's true.
And of course, for the American people, that piss in English-speaking countries means booze.
Yes, that's right.
So I wanted to just change the topic a little bit because not that we have a specific topic, but people like you and I, we make videos and we try and give answers to people. But what about the other way around? What sort of mysteries do you think, Tony, as a man who's done a lot of study in a lot of things, what mysteries are still out there in the universe for you?
Well, there are a great number. I still don't think we understand. There's a lot of stuff to do with astrophysics and planetary formation that we still don't understand. There are a lot of cosmological issues. One of the things that actually interests me is the concept of complex time. So time that has an imaginary component. Now, we do a lot of mathematics that works, and it relies on applying what's called an integral transform to a differential equation, and you can obtain a solution once you've applied the integral transform, and then you apply the inverse transform and you get out the solution. Oftentimes the integral transform takes the problem and then moves it into the complex plane, and then you move it back out of the complex plane to get your answer. And the answers turn out to be physically meaningful. They turn out to be demonstrably correct. And so this raises the possibility for me that time has a meaningful complex, that there is such a thing as complex time. So time with a non-zero imaginary component, and I'm not sure that we've necessarily understood the full ramifications.
That's fascinating. That's like I in mathematics.
Yeah, that's right. So the
square root of -1.
Yeah, the square root of -1. So that's what I mean is by complex is that we're in the complex plane. I think it's called the Argand diagram. So yeah, it's just it's a really interesting concept, and I want to know if we can get any traction on working out how it behaves, how it works. So it's Clive Wells says Wick rotated time. That John Wick guy, he's messing with everything. You got to kill.
Well, he kills people with pencils, doesn't he?
He does. Is complex time different than bendy space-time? In a sense, that's a profound question. So, in the sense that time and space, yes, I've been talking about time as though it is a distinct entity from space, but the reality is that they're not. They're not distinct.
That, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Space-time bends. Get over it, Gary. We can prove that it does. Seriously. I wonder what Gary does for a living. Does anybody have any idea? What does Gary do?
Well, you touched on it earlier that a lot of flirts haven't really achieved anything in life. I mean, look at Anthony Rowan, for example. He claims to have a law degree. I have great doubts as to whether that's a real law degree or not, but that's a future video. And all he's done with it since he got it in 2003, according to what he showed in his videos, is nothing. He's never practiced as a lawyer except for 3 court cases, which he's lost them all, so he's got a perfect record. And he's run a taxi, a minicab service or transfer service, whatever you want to call it, which got into legal trouble, which was one of the court cases, or 2 of the court cases, in fact. And that's about it. No one knows what else he's done in life or what he's achieved except come on to YouTube and made a complete arse of himself about flat Earth.
Yeah, no.
Well, to be fair, not just flat Earth.
Yes.
He's been a complete arse about COVID as well. So
And back to Carter. Sorry, back on Earth. What are you going to say?
No, that he does actually have that degree, and he worked in law for 6 months as or around that time period, basically as a clerk for somebody running and getting researching stuff, and then left
Making
law.
the tea.
Basically, yeah.
6 months. Eh? You sure he got it? Because I've seen evidence that suggests that he hasn't.
No, as far as I'm aware, 2 people checked back into it, and yes, he does actually have qualification in law.
Okay. Because he showed the degree, but he blocked out the university, which doesn't make any sense. If you want people to believe you've got a degree, you show the university. You didn't block out his name. It was obvious to figure out which university it was from the letterhead, but it was a strange thing to do, because if you've got a degree, you want to tell people about it, because it's something you've achieved, and it's something that proves that you know things. Like Tony, he's PhD Tony. He's telling people he's got a PhD.
Yeah.
There you go. Craig Wells has just answered. So Riley submitted his thesis to the LLM.
Well, that's what we saw in that video, what he presented. Whether or not they're real or not, that's what I'm questioning, based on the evidence I've seen, which I'll present in a future video, if it checks out. Anyway, that's another issue. But the point was that they tend to have not achieved much in life. I mean, people, a law degree is a lot of hard work, and to just work for 6 months and go do something else, or not much else, to be honest, that doesn't make sense. Unless he was absolutely crap as a lawyer and the 6 months proved it to him.
The story I heard was that he thought as soon as he had his degree, he'd be trialing cases and everything else, and didn't realise, no, you actually have to work after your degree to get somewhere in that industry as well.
Didn't he? He was trained. He did at least 3 years of university. Surely he would have figured it out.
I'm wondering. I'm wondering. Sort of. There are sort of more introductory legal certifications, like it. Sort of there are more basic clerical styles of qualifications, and I kind of imagined that he had one of those rather than a full law degree, but I may be wrong.
Well, he claims to have a law degree with honours, which I initially thought was suspicious, given that if you have honours, they usually say whether it's first or second class. But apparently that's not the case in the, well, I don't want to say lesser, the non-Oxbridge type universities. Where did you go, Tony? Did you go to ANU or Melbourne?
Yeah, I went to ANU.
Yeah, I went to Sydney and Uni in New South Wales, which are both Oxbridge level.
Very reputable institutions.
Yeah, where they offer those sorts of things. But other universities which are basically TAFEs that have become universities, and I'm not knocking them in any way. It's just the case is they tend not to. A law degree with honours without specifying first or second is actually normal. So I was just saying that made me suspicious at first, but I have a different experience. So. Yeah.
Oh, it's a. I think it's just a. It's a really. It strikes me as difficult to credit that this man has any sort of tertiary, meaningful tertiary qualification. As I say, one of the skills that somebody should emerge from a university degree with is the ability to critically think, and he doesn't have any.
Especially in a law degree, you have to do so much research in a law degree.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not doing experiments and things like that, but you have to read up on cases, and you're basically spending your whole time reading past cases to figure out why judgments were made and what the precedents are and all that sort of thing. And it's a lot of hard work. A law degree. It's 5 years here anyway. I don't know what it is in the UK. You normally have to do it combined with an arts degree as well, just so you can get in extra subjects. But yeah, I mean, my science degree was just 3 years, so it's a completely different thing. And I specialise in computer science, although I did physics as well and maths. Anyway, I don't really want to talk about that. I don't know why I said that at all. But yeah, but what I was saying is most of them tend to be people who there's no obvious evidence that they've achieved a lot in life. I mean, you look at people like Bev, for example. He keeps saying he's a surveyor, but he talks to a real surveyor and he has no idea what the real surveyor is saying.
Yeah.
So he says he's now, and that's fine. That's a really great job. But to claim that he knows as much as surveyor when it's put to the test and it proves that he's not, well, there's something wrong there.
Yeah. It's a. I've noticed that Gary's gone very quiet since we started asking about what he might do for a living,
and started talking about us being, not exactly successful people.
Yeah.
Come on, Gary, tell us what you do.
I for one am fascinated. Like, Yeah, so it depends on the university you go to, how long a law degree takes. The ANU law degree is typically 4 years, but then there's at least another year before after that before you're allowed to practice. You don't, as Hugh was alluding to earlier, it's not the case that you get your degree and you can wander out and practice law. You need that. There are a whole bunch of procedural elements to being a lawyer that you have to learn and that aren't really taught in the undergraduate.
Well, that's the same for any job, really. Any degree, you have to learn the ropes. You start at the bottom. I think you said yourself, Tony, that you send your PhD students to Antarctica because it's too bloody cold for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives them good experience, and that learns the rope. They're doing real science, and they're becoming aware of how hard it is at times in that particular situation. And that's all good experience for someone who's young and full of enthusiasm and comes out of uni thinking they know everything and not realising that they're usually a few years behind because lecturers aren't usually practicing scientists at the time or whatever the field happens to be.
Yeah, becoming a PhD student is somewhat. It's something of a new experience. It's different for everybody, but you kind of have to realize that there has been an enormous amount of work done in this field before you got here. You're not going to be able to redo it all. People will try. A lot of PhD students arrive and they start thinking, well, I can work through all of these papers and recreate all of the theoretical detail. Sure, but it's going to take you a long time. Carl Edwards is running. Okay.
Yep. I was just dropping a note to him. Yes, Gary's definitely disappeared, hasn't he? Yeah. So what? I was going to talk about mysteries. Yeah, Bacon Earth, go.
There's one more practice here. Is I've just shared my screen, so you'll see you as the person in charge. You had it to the stream.
Oh, I see.
Well.
So
if somebody else comes on and wants to share something, you'll see that they can't do it without your permission. You have to add it to it as well.
Right. So I'm adding the screen. Yep. So this is the picture of the star trails at the equator you were mentioning earlier, Tony.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think the image sort of the image maybe that's exactly the image I see. But yeah, it's just a spectacular. It's just a spectacular sort of effect that you can get when you're on the equator.
I think I know the one you're talking about. It's a composite photo, I think. It shows
probably
more of each hemisphere.
Probably is, and this one seems less. They probably needed a panoramic lens, which probably introduced some distortion, and this one's avoided doing that. So, or at least minimized the distortion. So,
Daryl, if you look further up in, actually, do I still have it on my clipboard? Yeah, there's my star trails. I need to do some more. I got a new camera. Arctic Reflection suggested a new camera that was a bit cheaper than the one he uses, which is about $6,000. It was only a couple of $100 for mine, but its sensor is much bigger than a P1000, so it should be good enough to do some fairly good photography at night time, I suspect. So, I'm looking forward to figuring out how to use that. Just kept coming other things I've had to deal with lately, unfortunately. I got this course out of the way, so I'm fully accredited again.
Nice.
So that's done, and so now I can focus on other things. And I've done 2 videos already, and I'll get the Reichi one out soon. Probably on the weekend, I suspect, and more live streams. I'll do a proper live stream next week, I think. I just wanted to figure out the software first. So That's pretty awesome. So, Bacon Earth, when you shared your screen, is that a button on your side, is it? Or
yeah, so I get the same option, so I can share my screen, but you actually have to add it to the stream. So therefore, if somebody comes on and they want to share something, you're in full control of when it's added to the stream, when it comes away from it.
So I know in some situations that other people can kick everyone else off. That doesn't happen here.
No, you can leave this call and Tony and I can keep talking, but even from a point of view of, you can always come back into it. It's not like sniping on the old Hangouts. That's not possible on StreamYard.
Yeah, because I've heard of that happening, and that's my main concern, whether or not that was possible on this. So,
not possible at all. But once we go off air, I'll speak to both of you about it because I've an offer for you both.
All right. Actually, I have to go. I'm sorry. But I will try and catch up with Bacon Earth sometime in the next 24 hours or so. I just need to go and deal with something. But thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it, and thank you very much for the shout out. I didn't realize it was going to hit such a positive note with people, but I'm gratified that it did.
Yeah, but your passion is the main reason people love seeing you on FTFE and Team Skeptic. It's awesome. So thank you for being you, Tony.
Thank you very much. Okay, take care.
Later, Tony.
Bye.
Now, I don't have to kick Tony out or anything, do I? He just goes.
He can leave himself. Now, from a point of view, if somebody else gets the link, if you click on the 3 buttons beside my avatar again, you will see that you have the option to remove from the stream, kick from the studio, or ban.
Kick from studio or bans from studio. Okay,
so
cool.
obviously, if I happen to come in pissed as a fart and you just wanted to remove me because I was drunk that day, you just kick. If you want to stop me from ever joining again, then you ban.
I'm sure that would not happen. I don't know. How drunk are you now?
Unfortunately, sober as a judge.
Oh, you poor thing. Yeah. I mean, it is 10 o'clock in the morning? No, it'd be
it's now midday. 12:30.
Yeah, lunchtime. Well, the pubs are open at least.
Only a few of them around me. There's a lot of them doing the right thing and just holding off till after the spike we have in my local area calms down a bit.
Yeah, Conspiracy Cats has got it too, or at least that's what he implied with the message he had on his community page. Yeah.
Unfortunately so. It appears that way. But hopefully he'll be better soon.
Yeah, he's still quite young and everything, so he should be fairly low risk.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's about managing the risks. And unfortunately, some people aren't very good at it.
No, at people like Mark Steele, for example. Oh, God, that guy's a nutter. And he's it just, there's, 1.5 million people have died, and there's these nutters running around saying, oh, there's no virus, it's all a pandemic, and just how stupid can you be, And it's not a challenge saying that.
No, and this is the thing, even people around me have tried to suggest that it's planned and everything else, but when you actually talk to them and you say, well, why do you think that? They don't have anything the same with flat earthers. It's all made up in their head.
Yeah, and it's just I guess that's what Tony was getting at in terms of being taught how to think critically, because until you get that sort of training, I guess, or well, you do figure it out as an adult, I imagine, but if you get that sort of training, you get to view the world more efficiently, you might say. But before that, you view the world quite emotionally, and if something pisses you off, then you're biased against that thing, or if you like it a lot, you're biased towards it, and you make your decisions along those sort of lines rather than, okay, is it real? Like, for example, one thing that pissed me off today, among many things, was a meme on Facebook that says, be careful about bees. 7 have been put on the endangered list recently. Well, first of all, that meme's about 20 years out of date. And second of all, well, not 7 bees, but 7 species of bees, I meant to say. There are 20,000 species of bees. So they say 7 as if that's a massive number of bees, but it isn't really. And they're probably ones that there aren't many anyway. But they're trying to manipulate you into thinking that bees are almost gone, which they're not. If there's still 20,000 species of bees, and of course there's going to be several million in each species. So yes, bees are reducing across the world. That's a different thing. This is the wrong figure to use to make that point.
And again, it's whatever suits their narrative at the time.
Yeah.
But again, I will say that there are very few places now, from my personal experience in the UK, that actually teach critical thinking, and it's sad.
Well, even worse is the places that are supposed to teach critical thinking are tending to be, how do I put this, biased towards one particular way of thinking rather than being critical thinking objectively. And that's a bit of a worry because it affects the population as a whole, because the thought leaders of the population, they'll influence people to think along those lines rather than to look at it objectively and figure out what's best for everyone, which is always my approach. So,
well, I would agree with that.
Yeah, and it's almost an evil to even try and take people away from that sort of objectivity, because it's what's got us to where we are. If you take away what got us to where we are, then where are we going? That's I'm talking very esoterically, I guess, but I think you understand what I'm getting at. So. Yeah,
that was it. We stand on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah. So, and if you just suddenly ignore the giant, you're falling on the ground. And we're talking metaphorically, I guess.
Yeah. But again, the question is let's assume for the hell of it that a conspiracy like flat Earth is even real. How does that change anything in most people's day-to-day lives?
Absolutely nothing.
We've still got to go out. We've got to work. We've got to provide for ourselves and our families, and we've still got to take care of each other.
Yeah, and that's why the passion for flat Earth doesn't make any sense, because it doesn't change anything, really.
No,
I guess it's more the conspiracy side of it than anything else, isn't it? Because they're worried that, you know, all these people we don't know are changing our lives, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, but right, here's the thing, Hugh, right? Are you of the opinion that your government's never lied to you or mine's never lied to me?
Every government lies all the time. It's a matter of how significant that lie is and how much it affects me.
Exactly, and here's the thing. Do we really need to know everything? Like, there's lots of reasons why the government keeps stuff from the general public.
Yeah, and
Nice.
yes, I would, you know, there's national security stuff that we shouldn't be told about, because that gives our enemies an insight that gives them the opportunity to hurt us, and we don't want that. That's ridiculous.
Exactly, but again, it's understanding why things are kept from us, and again, that's a skill that a lot of people that are mixed up in these conspiracies don't actually have.
And national security might be an extreme example on one side, but there's the other side too. I remember a scene from, I think it was Yes Prime Minister. I'm not sure if it was Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister, where the minister says he has to know everything. And then Sir Humphrey says, "You sure you want to know everything?" And he says, "Yes, I need to know everything." And he says, "All right, Minister." And then he opens up his folder and he says, "Okay, there were 343 packets of paper clips delivered yesterday." So, yes, we don't need to know that level of detail either. We hire the governments to make decisions of what we need to know. If they don't do it well, we vote them out. That's the way democracy works.
Yeah, and this is why again, this is the thing. If you don't like it, there are ways that you can change it without having to go down all these rabbit holes and everything else.
Yeah.
But actually go out and understand the way government works, understand the way science works, and understand where we're going and where we've come from, and that will help you understand what's going on.
Yeah, a conspiracy, people who have conspiracy as their first thought, they're the last people to be making those sort of decisions.
The idea of Anthony Riley and Nathan Oakley in charge. Oh, dear God.
I think that's the test for pretty much anyone, really, whether or not you should treat them as credible or not. Imagine if they were given ultimate power. Would that make the world a better place? And, you know, there's a politician here called Sarah Hanson-Young. She's a real nutter. She'd be the Mark Steele sort of person if she wasn't in politics. And you'd, if you imagine a world where she was the supreme leader, it's not a world you want to live in. Or Mark Steele's probably actually another example, a world where Mark Steele is the boss. Would you want to live in that world? No, you probably wouldn't. And that determines whether or not these people are credible and should be listened to, I say, anyway. It's just my opinion, of course.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree. See you later, Clive. Have fun teaching and indoctrinating your students. Good luck with that.
Yes. Yeah. Get your brainwashing materials out. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like when you see people like Mark Steele take apart devices and claim that they're designed to harm us and put signals into our brains and everything else, it's ridiculous. It's clear that he doesn't understand the devices he's taking apart.
Yeah, MC Toon has pretty much shown that, hasn't he?
Yeah, now MC Toon is extremely good at dealing with Mark Steele, but he's had the practice.
That's the thing with these conspiracy nutters, though. When they're shown to be wrong, they get upset. When I'm shown to be wrong, I see it as an opportunity to learn something I didn't know before or understand it better. And that's my mindset, and that's a different mindset to what they have. And they keep getting into trouble, and I don't, because I have more knowledge than I had before as a result. So which is the more effective way of looking at things?
Depends on what your aim is. Like take for
Oh,
example,
yeah. But anyway,
take
go
for
on.
example Spurs, right? My personal opinion of Spurs is that he got into Flat Earth to troll them, and has stayed on it since, because he waited too long to say it was all a joke, and now he likes the attention that everybody puts on him. So again, his aim has, for me, appears to have changed in the 5 years that I've been around this bullshit. So again, what do people want to actually get out of it as well?
Yeah, well, as I said earlier, the deepest psychology is that people will do the things that they believe will give them an advantage. So in Spurs' case, he believes he gets an advantage out of doing what. Mark Sargent's another example. He clearly doesn't believe the Earth is flat, but he's got caught up in it, and it gives him attention. It gives him an income. I can't imagine it's a massive income, but he gets invited to speak at international conferences, so that he's probably got this sort of ego that likes that sort of thing. Whereas I go to conferences and I find them dreary things most of the time, apart from the bit that's an excuse just to get drunk, but apart from it. But yeah, I have a different sort of ego, I guess. And these people seem to have these sort of egos where they're very needy and desperate for attention. And that's also a sign of people who don't achieve very well in life, I guess.
Well, again, I think the perfect example of that at the moment would be Nathan Thompson.
Yeah.
His decline in the last month was being fueled by anti-radiation duck suits, and his reaction to that, I think, shows that it's a dangerous position to fall into as well.
Yeah, just let me look up something. Where's it gone? I just want to get the details right before I say this. Sam Vines, okay. Yeah, so on my Discord server, someone asked me about DFOTY. In fact, I put a link up to the voting, and I said Thompson won it when he went to that school, and again when he continued to harass children. And then Sam Vines replied with something very poignant, and again when he fell for wearing a duck suit. I mean, how much more do you need to be DFOTY? Going to the school was enough, but to do those others as well, no one's been that dumb this year, surely.
Not this year. There is one other person, but I'm not going to even give him the publicity to mention his name. But no, from a first side, no. Nathan Thompson has literally ran away with the prize.
Yeah, and he sort of won it in the foot. I think that school video was like January, wasn't it? It was just before.
Yes, depends on which one you're talking about, because he has done it even when he was ordered not to. But
the one when the kid says, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and that was early January, so he basically won it at the beginning of the year, not the end.
Basically, yeah, and this is the problem with Dumb Fuck of the Year. Some people take a really good lead, but it's whether they can keep that momentum across the year.
Yeah, because the voting happens at the end of the year, not in the middle.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you do something at the beginning, but he's been keeping it up, like we said, the duck suits and everything. So,
well, to believe that they made a 25 square mile magnet, that takes some.
Believed in that thing, so yeah.
And believe it or not, you've been going for almost 2 hours. You see how easy it is?
Just noticing that, and hello to Colin, it just came in. Who else is? Oh, my mum bakes cakes. I haven't seen you until recently, so g'day. I had him on my very first live stream. I'd like to have you on again soon. And the Snark's here too. I hadn't noticed the Snark pop in. Basic trigonometry. Kyle is one of the nominees. If you go to the link, and I should post that, shouldn't I? Where is it? Copy link address. And there's the link there. And posting. Yeah, so go and vote for DFOTY. My pick is Nathan Thompson because I think he's won it back in January and no one's overtaken him since. And it's now December, so, that's pretty good. I can't imagine how stupid you'd have to be to overtake him right now, but I guess it does happen.
Anything is possible. Don't forget, Anthony Riley does like winning it. So he might do something. No, but he might do something stupid just so he can be mentioned.
He's at least done a few stupid things this year. So I've got I'm working on a video on him. He did a live stream about Magna Carta, and the conclusion he came to was correct, that Magna Carta doesn't apply because a lot of people in the UK apparently using Magna Carta 1215 in particular, because there were several, as an excuse to not obey the COVID restrictions. And he agrees with that, but how he got there was just ridiculous, and especially after he claimed that he was one of the best there is at how to do this. So.
Yeah, well, I think we've ample evidence to show that he really doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, I think pretty much every time he opens his mouth, he says that. So Pip says, I'm quiet, I'm loud, and you're quiet. So let me turn you up a bit.
That's all right. It's your stream. It's supposed to be loud.
So, yeah, but I don't want to be so loud that it becomes noticeable. So how's that, Pip? Bacon, say a few things.
Hello, Pip.
And that way she can compare us in volume now. Can I change my own mic? No, I can't change my own mic setting.
If you go on mic settings, little button down the bottom.
Cam mic, yep.
Yep. I go to audio.
Yep.
Turn off the automatic level one, and then you'll get the same slider bar as well.
Good. So we're both on 100, so we should be the same.
You will come through louder than me, purely from the point of view of your setup is better than mine.
Okay, so I'll drop myself down to 81 maybe. That'll do. No save, so I get the saves there. How's that, Pip? Does that sound a bit better? Oh, that's it now. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Awesome. We aim to please here at the Hugh Jarsz channel. So, nearly 2 hours, and it's 11:15 here, PM.
So, just out of interest, if Ranty does come to Australia, are you going to meet up with him?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't mind, but I don't see the point of him coming over here and doing it. It sounds to me he just wants other people to pay for his holiday. Someone here can simply go out and do those observations.
Yeah, and I would agree with that as well. But again, this is the interesting thing about having flirts from Australia, when they're told by people like Mark Sargent and Nathan Thompson that the Southern Celestial Pole just doesn't exist, when it's something they can see themselves.
Yeah, it's just there. In fact, it's behind me right now, but I can go out there and I can set up my camera and I can film it.
But these are things we will never have an answer for on Flat Earth.
Well, we'll have answers. They just won't be good ones.
Yeah, like the personal dome. I always like that one.
Yes, it just makes no sense whatsoever, but they're absolutely sure it happens. So. Daryl M says he'll pay for Ranty, I presume, ticket for halfway. So in other words, he gets halfway here and he's stuck.
I think a lot of people would chip in for that one.
we'll send him halfway to space, so the rocket blows up halfway up. No, we don't mean any violence to him. We're just, having fun with the idea.
It's a bit of banter.
Yes. Hopefully this won't get clipped or anything. Now I've said that, it probably will be. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. It's all publicity, isn't it?
Exactly. At least you have the full record, and you can go back and give context, unlike people like Anthony Riley who make claims and then run away from them, like he did with Conspiracy Cats a month back.
Oh yes. Well, I'm sort of glad he ran away from that particular claim, but yeah.
Yeah, the good thing to see though was people like Ranty and a few other flat earthers actually stand up and say, "No, Riley, you're crossing the line now. You're just an asshole."
You say a few others, but Ranty was the only one who did anything, as far as I'm aware.
I heard other people when it was brought up in a few discords saying, "No, that's Riley just causing shit that needs to stop." So while they weren't necessarily public on discords, I did hear people step up and say, "No, Riley's just being an ass now."
Well, being more of an ass.
Well, yeah.
Most people, it always seems that the people who are most likely to move away from Flat Earth eventually tend to be the better people. The people who are, all the way in Flat Earth tend to be absolutely horrible people, don't they? I mean, Nathan, for example, Nathan Oakley, people like, I was thinking Bev, Flat Earth Aussie Roscoe has done some disgusting things. Austin Whitfield, they're all people that they're just horrible human beings. And there's numerous examples. Anthony Riley and Daniel Pratt's another one. They've said disgusting things about other people. They wish violence on other people and so other things. Lots of other things along those lines. It's one thing that gets me about Thompson, he claims to be a Christian, yet there's that video of him being, bashing on the door of his girlfriend, and she, that's bad enough, but he claims to be a Christian, and he's obviously sleeping with her because, based on what she says, you're not going to spend a night in my bed. So, he's such a hypocrite. He's a Christian when it suits him, but
Yeah, and the strange thing is that he's even turned down doing Bible study with fellow flat earthers on numerous occasions. He never wants to do it for some reason.
What a surprise.
Yeah. And again, like you're talking about Christianity, Lemonbird, who loves to invoke God, but yet hasn't read anything beyond the children's version of the Bible.
Yeah, well, the vast majority of Christians haven't read much of the Bible. That's for sure. They just sort of pick up a few things they hear at the sermon on Sundays, and maybe three or four sermons a year or so that they listen to. Well, they listen to all of them. They just only pay attention to 3 or 4 of them. So most Christians don't really know what they claim their faith is. It's a bit like Flat Earth, really.
Unfortunately.
And Christianity, at least in the UK sort of flavour of it, which has spread throughout the world, is more of a social organisation than anything else.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. In the UK, yes, it has become more of that, and it's less of a thing. Because here's the thing: I don't have a problem with people having faith. Doesn't annoy me. It's the shit that the organised religions get up to behind the closed doors that bug me about it. Yeah, the stuff, especially the stuff that come to light in the Catholic Church in particular, or Roman Catholic Church, I should say. Fancy naming it Catholic Church. Catholic means universal, and then putting Roman on it, which sort of limits it. That sort of logically makes no sense to me. This is very true.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I mean, I know it means it's the universal church from Rome, but it just makes sense anyway. Doesn't make sense. Sorry, I think I interrupted you there.
No. Pep brings up an interesting point, and the Jehovah's, they're just as bad. Jehovah Witnesses take it to another extreme when you move away from the church, because they actually get you to abandon your family if they're still in it.
Yeah, I had a few friends who were from families that were Jehovah's Witnesses, and they said similar things. It's people talk about religion as if it's not something of man, as in humans. It's a way for one group of humans to get control over other groups of humans, and I'm not talking about that in a conspiracy sort of way. It's human nature. It's going to happen. That's why we have kings, which became elected governments and so on. Throughout human history, it started off with a tribal leader because you needed someone to give everyone else a direction, and then to work for the common good. And then that became bigger, and we formed cities and then nations and so on. It's just human nature that a smaller group will seek to get control over the larger group. They'll get a benefit from it, but they've also got to get a benefit in return. Organized religion is just another way of doing it. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're being bad. I believe that the vast majority of people who get ordained as ministers in the church believe they're good people and they're there to do good. And in fact, church throughout history has done a lot of good. Most of our health system comes from the church. Most of our education system started with the church. It's a lot of the principles in our law come from Christian principles. That doesn't mean
you mean it comes down to the assholes that want to abuse the systems for their own good?
Just like it is in every other human system, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. People need to look at it from the point of view of human nature rather than, it's the church that's bad, or religion is bad, or But if you look at it from the point of view of it's humans are involved in this, then it becomes a lot clearer. Put it that way.
Yeah, humans are assholes.
Yeah, basically. I mean, communism theoretically, and emphasis on the word theoretically, is the best way of organizing humans. But the problem is humans are involved, and it won't work because humans are involved, and people will realize that it's not equal, and so on. So you reject that. Like Winston Churchill said, democracy is the worst system of government apart from all the others.
We could do with a few more people like Winston Churchill around.
Oh, there'll never be another Winston Churchill, will there?
Well, hopefully there'll be no need for one, but it's hard to know where we're going.
Yeah, he was a man of his time. So, I reckon I'm amazed we still got 18 people watching. Thank you for being here, everyone. But 2 hours for a test stream. I think we've done our test, and I've learned a lot. Thank you to Bacon Earth for that.
Very welcome.
Yeah, I very much appreciate it. And I might need one or two other live streams to get all the ins and outs of this happening, but I'm pretty sure I can do my live stream next week and do it properly and have a proper plan and show things. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
I'll stay till you go off air, and then I'll have a quick chat with you because I might have something that'll make it easier for you.
Oh, okay. All right then. So I'm going to say good night to everyone in the chat. I wonder when the Starship's going up. Pip, you were having a look at that. Is it going to launch soon, or Tusk absorbs this stream by osmosis? Well, it's nothing to see, so you may as well listen.
Tusk absorbs everything.
Well, that's his nature, isn't it? All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week with a proper live stream then. See you later.